Tuesday. Welcome back. I'm so glad to see you a couple weeks in a row. It was a tough time whenever I was away from all of my Facebook Live videos for week after week. So last week I tried to do a live tutorial on a very simple postcard. And this week I've decided to do a somewhat more involved postcard because people are asking questions about how I do the variations that I do. So I gathered my supplies and I'm ready to show you how to do a machine quilted postcard. Last week I just fused a simple postcard together and edged it. Hi Maria. Oh, that just reminds me, I have to redo my technology so I can see you closer to me. Here we are. Okay, I can see the comments now. It's good to see you ladies. So I decided to do a machine quilted tutorial because people have asked about how we do the machine quilting on a postcard and then mail it, and how do you do it. So what I did was I grabbed some scraps from the quilt behind me and I made a block, just a little scrappy block, and I put it on a single piece of batting, leftover batting from another project. So I started machine quilting this. There's no backing. What I'm using on the front of this is Parade. It's one of my Fabulous threads. It's red, white, and blue. And then I'm using a gray deco bob in the bobbin right here. I pulled out Hedwig, my lovely machine, my lovely Handy Quilter Stitch 710 machine, and I'm going to do some very simple machine quilting on here. I have my walking foot. This is mostly quilted, so you don't have to watch me quilt the whole thing. So let me just put this down. And since the batting is larger than the postcard, I don't need to make any knots. I'm going to just start stitching and end stitching from batting to batting across my postcard. And this is when I use the scissors button on my machine, and it cuts my top and bobbin thread for me. You just finish this off with another line. There, and cut my thread. So my postcard is entirely quilted, and then the back you're never really going to see because I'm going to fuse this to the stabilizer that I pulled out of my stabilizer and envelope kit. I sell these on my website. I grabbed a piece of 5x6 cream white fabric from my scrap bin, and I'm going to layer this all together. I have my iron, so let me press off the backing fabric that I'm going to write on. Now I want to make sure that I don't have any little fuzzes of fabric or thread in between there because it will show through the white fabric. I'm going to take my stabilizer, put it right on top, and then I have my postcard top. I'm going to put it over top again, and this is larger, so I need to make sure that the fabric is all fitting on the postcard stabilizer so that the batting doesn't end up showing on the front. So I think I have that centered. Let me give this a good pressing. This is a double-sided Peltex stabilizer I'm using. So it's going to fuse automatically for me. I don't need to add anything extra to it. Now I'm not sure I got that on straight. I don't think my postcard is on the stabilizer straight, but the stabilizer is bigger than the postcard will be, so there's room to fix it. I'm going to lay down my postcard, and I have my postcard centering tool, my postcard trimming tool right here. Get the iron out of the way. And this has marks. The piecing of this simple scrappy postcard has a center to it, so I can line. The center of it is right in the middle of this white and red four patch, elongated four patch. So I'm going to line the centering lines on the seam lines, and that way I know that I'll be trimming it straight. This is my rotary cutter. Trim around two edges. Actually, I'm going to have to turn that If I'm standing up, I can usually make that work, but that was too awkward. Trim 2 sides. Let me trim 2 sides more. Now my postcard is completely trimmed. There's the front, here's the back, and I am going to do edge stitching around it, again using the red, white, and blue parade thread. To do this, I need to change some settings on my machine from my machine quilting stitch. So let me put this to a wide zigzag. I'm going to put it 4.5 millimeters wide, and I'm going to take the stitch down to 0.4 in the length. And I stitch around my postcard twice. I have stitched around it once at the smallest stitch, the smallest stitch distance, and it didn't seem to fill very well, and that's when I started stitching it twice. The first time I go around, it's really narrow. It's narrower than the second time is a little wider, so it covers it all really well. Let me just put this on. And which stitch did I pick here? So this is in the middle. I start slightly down one side of the postcard so that I don't dig in with my to the hole where the needle goes in. I don't want the fabric to get sucked down there, so I don't start right at the corner. There we go. And now it's picking up. I'm not simply letting my feed dogs pull this through. I'm actually pushing it with my thumbs ever so slightly just to give it pressure in case it wants to stop. And the one thing I forgot to do was to release all the tension on my top thread. I run my tension at 0 so that the zigzag stitch, the top thread goes all the way around the top and the back of the postcard, and pretty much the bobbin thread just sits inside the stabilizer. I don't have to take this out because I'm going to stitch over it again, so it won't matter. So there, I'm done with one side. Let's continue on. Two, and I stitch off the edge and turn it without ever cutting or breaking my thread. And there's 3. And I end with my needle on the outside of the zigzag so it's easier to turn. So I went around it once. What I'm going to do is to take my stitch length to 5 millimeters, just make that a ½ millimeter wider, and take my stitch length all the way down to 0.2, which is the smallest distance that it does on this machine. And I'm going to stitch around it all again. End on the outside and turn. There we go. Only 2 sides to go. This is turning out nicely. Sorry, a little thread. my postcard is entirely done. What I'm going to do is pull the thread out, and I'm going to leave a bit of a tail. So I've left a little extra length here, and I'm going to leave that long until I get with the fray check and put a little dab of fray check at the end, because this thread is really shiny and slippery, and what it wants to do is unravel all the way around. But until I do that, here's my postcard, and you can see the red, white, and blue around the outside, and then I have the red, white, and blue around the outside with plenty of room to write here. I can write the address and put a stamp here and a small message. But what I usually do for my postcards is I write a full message on here, and I put it in a cellophane envelope to protect it in the mail. This takes a regular letter stamp, a regular first class stamp, and they've all gotten there with no difficulty. So this is in its envelope. I will stick this down, put the stamp over top of it to hold it down, and it's ready to go in the mail. So someone will be getting this one this week. That wasn't terribly different than last week's, but a lot of people had asked me specifically, when do you do the machine quilting? So I wanted to show you that. So let me check and see what the questions are. So I have a couple computers here going so I can see your questions. So Angie, thank you. I didn't bring that out with me. Angie said she just had a chance to read my article in the current Quilters World magazine. I meant to have that copy here to show you, but I forgot. You spelled it all out in an informative way that everyone could understand. Nice job. Oh, Angie, you're the sweetest. Thank you. So some of you might not know that I am a machine quilting columnist for Quilters World magazine, and that comes out once a quarter. And this last issue was about choosing the right machine quilting threads for your quilt. So do you want it to stand out, or do you want it to not stand out? Do you want the color to match? What do you think about variegated? So that's something you can ask your local quilt store if they carry it or if they can get it. And if not, it's available on the newsstands and online. So I've had issues in for this year. I believe I started this year. So I've talked about just getting started machine quilting and some simple patterns. And I know what's coming up too, because I'm a couple articles ahead. So check me out on Quilters World for the machine quilting articles. Let's see if there's any other. Hello, hello, hello. Terry, thank you for the postcard. And Maria, you haven't named your 710? My 710 is named Hedwig, which is Harry Potter's owl. I have a 510, a Handy Quilter 510, which is a really fast machine. So I named it Errol, which is a very slow owl. So I played around with that. And then my little Handy Quilter 210, my travel machine, is named Pigwidgeon because she's a small show-off of an owl from Harry Potter. I might be a Harry Potter fan, just a little bit. Let's see, any other comments I need to answer? So hello, everybody. Thanks for tuning in for the tutorial, but this is still my regular Facebook Live video. I'm going to, last week and this week, I joined them together, but you can tell me what you think about me having a tutorial separate from the Facebook Live. So I'm not sure where I'm going with that yet, now that I know the setup works. So I think people can see what I'm doing here and how it's working, but I want to know if you want the video on the tutorial separate from my newsy chatty part. So let me know how that works for you. Let's see what's new. I have a new quilt behind me. I just put the binding on last night. The pattern is called Go With The Flow, and it's a really fun cutie pattern that has, I think, 5 or 6 different blocks. And when you cut up all of your cuties, and cuties are 16 fat eighths in a pack, you cut up all of your fat eighths different ways, and then you sew them together to make a bunch of different blocks. So let me see what shows in the camera. So this is one block here, and this is one block here, and that's another one here. They're all different blocks, and you just go with the flow and arrange them as desired. I have mentioned many times that I am drowning in babies. Again, a very good problem to have, but I'm specifically drowning in baby boys. I cannot keep up with the baby boy quilts. So I was able to get my hands on the entire line of Riley Blake by the Sea fabric, which is what this is. It has whales, and it has chevrons and stripes and anchors and octopi and all sorts of nautical stuff. And the border here is sailboats. So I've actually put this entire quilt together as a kit to sell. It's already on my website. The kit includes the fabric for the 52 by 60 inch quilt top, which is a great baby quilt size. It's for enough fabric for the top and the binding, and the pattern is also included. The kit came to $46, but I'm selling it right now for $40 at DebbieBrownQuilts.com, which is also where you can go for all of the postcard supplies that I was talking about. So those are on the main part of my website. On the store, you can order those, and I have some shipping specials you'll find out. So I believe it's $3 shipping right now. Check it out if you want. I do have limited quantities of this. I think I have 10. I have enough fabric to do 10 of this border. So you can pick that up if you'd like. So I'm really excited about that. And I wanted to talk about the machine quilting on this as well. Can you tell how I quilted the quilt? I am sitting in front of a tablet looking into my phone on the other side of the table. So I can't actually see what's going on the phone. I can only see a little bit on the tablet. But I pieced this quilt top in a hotel this weekend, and my students in Columbia, Maryland, where I was teaching this weekend, asked me how I was going to quilt it. And I had a bunch of really fun ideas and intricate things. But the truth of this fabric is you're not going to really see how I quilted it because the fabric is so busy. So I actually grabbed out a couple threads, and I pulled out, again, that red, white, and blue, that parade thread from Fabulux. And I also pulled out Blue Heaven from Fabulux. Now, this looks a little bright for this, but once it's on the fabric, it actually blends in perfectly. It's 3 different shades of blue, so it brings richness and depth, and it doesn't go, wow, this is really bright blue. It worked really well on the quilt, and I did a single swirl and wave all over the quilt. I didn't custom quilt it because the quilting just wasn't going to show, and somebody's going to crawl around and drool on this and spit up on it. So it doesn't have to be a show quilted quilt. It has to be quilted. And then for the backing, for the back of the quilt, I have this turquoise, and I used this gray thread on the back. This is gray Deco Bob. I believe this is called Dove Gray. So you can see the texture on the back, but not really the thread. It worked together beautifully. So that was fun for me, and it also gave me some fun scraps for postcards. So I did mention that I was in Columbia, Maryland this weekend, and I had such a fun time. It was at Springwater Designs. If you're in the area, you should definitely check them out. It's a great shop, lots of classes and clubs and great education down there. And I look forward to going back sometime in the future when our schedules allow. Sorry, my iron's turning itself off. So definitely check them out. It's like they knew me because they had chocolate and tea and cake, and somebody sent me home with some very pretty Hello Kitty fabric. It's like they know me. And the student who did this, she's like, don't worry, I pulled it off the free table at my guild. So I can make use of free Hello Kitty fabric too. I just have to decide what I'm gonna do with it. So that's what I did last weekend. I love my job. I love meeting quilters. I love teaching. The travel is hard, I won't lie, because I drove to Baltimore. I drove down past New York, past Philadelphia, past Baltimore, and partway to Washington, D.C., which is nearly a quarter of the U.S. population that I drove through, and the roads really show it. So that's a bit of a tough drive, but once I get there and teach, it's all worth it. And another thing that makes it worth it is I get to be in different parts of the country. So I met up with a cousin who I know online, and I got to meet her really in person and get to know her a little bit on my drive home. So it makes the travel so much sweeter whenever you can stop and see some fun people on the way. So that was a great trip. My next teaching adventure is at the Quilt Basket in Pawling, New York. I have a 2-day hands-on machine quilting retreat for home machines, for sit-down long arms like my Sweet 16, and also for stand-up long arms. We bring in machines and we bring all the supplies. So the rest of this week, I'm gathering a bunch of that together so that we can spoil our quilters rotten this weekend. So hopefully I'll see some of you there. It's a fun, busy weekend, and I think by Sunday at 3, whenever we end, all of the quilters' heads are just about to explode because they can't get any more quilting information in there. We've been doing this for over 10 years, and it's been tons and tons of fun. So I think we've maybe done 15 different retreats. We've held them up in my part of New York. We've been down on Long Island, and we've held them once or twice a year, which is how we got 15 retreats over the 10 years. I'm looking forward to being home. I have a window over there, so I'm still seeing a lot of green. We've had an unusual fall that it's been really cold, then really actually hot, and now we're back to a typical fall day, so maybe we'll start seeing some good autumn color. And then after I finish with the Quilt Basket retreat, I have a couple days to scatter, to scramble and get everything together to go to Quilt Market and Quilt Festival. So I hope I will be interrupted. I'll be gone for one Tuesday. I think I'm only gone one Tuesday, and I'm teaching that Tuesday. It's on Halloween. So I don't know if I will have a chance to do live videos, but I'll try. So just keep checking back at the page, or I think you can look at the bottom of the page and say, notify me when this video is live, because I'm not sure when I'll be able to do live videos from Houston. So if you hit that notification, you'll find out. So I will be home. I think that would make it November 7th. So I'll be here next Tuesday, and then I'll also be here November 7th with 12 days of Houston in between. So hopefully I'll have some good stuff for you there. Let me check in the comments to see if anybody had some questions. Hello? Scrolling up. Nope, I think we're good. Oh, you like the border. Yeah, the sailboat borders. Thank you, Terry. So I have a lot of sewing I'm doing that I can't show you yet because it's for Quilt Market or for after Quilt Market. And let's just say there are new quilts, there are new patterns, there are new tutorials, there are new videos. There's a lot of new stuff coming out that I can't wait to tell you about. So if there's something that you would like to learn online, maybe you could leave a message, because I'm planning out the rest of the fall and winter videos that I'll be filming for you on Facebook Live or separately. Yeah, so it's just a really busy planning time. But I hope you're enjoying the change of seasons wherever you live, and getting a lot of quilting done, and planning to either clean up the sewing room or make a huge mess in the sewing room, or what projects are coming next. So I never really know how much quilters look forward to Quilt Market and Quilt Festival, because those of us in the industry, we look forward to it because we go, we know, we get to see what's new and find out all of that. But I don't know how much you're watching to find out what is coming out in the next year, what new products, what new machines, what new gadgets and toys are coming out. But hopefully I'll be showing you some of those. And if I can get the bandwidth, if I can get the data on my phone to do that. So that is my video for this week. Next week's video, I'm thinking of talking about how I do an applique postcard and layer that down. So I can show you that. And I kind of have to get back to stitching, but I want to thank you for stopping in and saying hello and watching my little tutorial, but definitely keep in touch. Follow along for the videos so you'll be notified whenever I'm able to go live. And if you're interested, again, I only have 10 of these kits, so you can jump on them quick and check out and see if you like any of the threads to go with it. So thank you for tuning in today. Happy quilting, and I'll see you next week. Bye.